Okay, ready to dive into another Reddit post? This one is pretty cringy.
Oh, is this the one about getting caught?
Yeah, the boyfriend's little cousin walks in on him, and now she's like freaking out, convinced she's scarred this kid for life.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Poor poster, right? Talk about a family dinner you don't want to go to.
Right. Like, how do you ever recover from that? But I gotta say, the comments on this post are wild. Everything from like people cracking jokes to others being super concerned about the kid.
It's like this one post unlocked all these different
Yeah,
reactions.
like a total spectrum of human nature. It's fascinating, actually. But let's go back to the post for a sec. So the poster says her boyfriend like yelled at the kid to get out.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, that's probably not the best approach.
No, probably not. I mean, think about it. You're 8 years old. You walk in on something you don't understand, and then someone starts yelling.
Right. It's like talk about adding trauma to an already confusing situation.
Exactly.
Mm.
So what should they have done instead? Like, how do you even handle that?
Yeah. Well, I think just staying calm is key.
Hmm.
Acknowledge the situation without making a big deal out of it. Maybe say something like, hey, we need some privacy right now. Can you please close the door?
Okay, so kind of just calmly set a boundary.
Exactly. Reassure the kid without making them feel like they did something wrong.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And, this kind of ties into what a lot of the commenters were saying about teaching kids about boundaries and knocking before entering.
Oh, absolutely. Like knocking is a basic life skill. But here's the thing.
What's that?
Adults got to step up too, especially when kids are around. It's a shared responsibility to prevent those accidental walk-ins.
So it's not all on the kid to knock? The adult should be thinking about privacy too.
Exactly. Door stops, wedges, get creative.
To be prepared.
Yeah.
I like it. But okay, we got to talk about the commenters who are like finding humor in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Some of the stories they're sharing are wild.
Oh, I know, right? Some of those were hilarious.
Like, is it wrong to laugh?
I don't think so. I mean, laughter is a coping mechanism, right? It's how we deal with awkward and uncomfortable situations.
It's like a way to bond over shared cringy experiences.
Exactly. And it kind of normalizes it, Like, hey, we've all had those awkward moments, but, we can't forget about the serious side of this.
Yeah, some people are seriously concerned about the kid. Like, what kind of impact will this have on him?
That's a valid concern. It's not something to brush off. Witnessing something like that at such a young age can definitely be confusing and even disturbing.
So how do you even explain this to an 8-year-old? Like, where do you even begin?
Well, honesty is always a good place to start, right? But you got to keep it age appropriate.
Okay, so like what? What would you say?
Something like, grown-ups sometimes show affection in private ways. You surprised us, and it's important to knock before entering a room.
Okay, so you acknowledge what happened without over-explaining it.
Exactly. You validate their experience without shame or judgment, and you reinforce that boundary.
That makes sense. But what about the people who are, like, blaming the poster?
Oh, the one saying they shouldn't have been doing that in a house with a kid.
Yeah, like it's their fault, basically.
I think that's an interesting reaction because it kind of shows how different people view privacy and intimacy.
Right, like what are the societal expectations?
Yeah,
Kind of.
exactly. Some people think any display of affection should be hidden from kids. Others are more, well, open-minded.
So this situation kind of forces us to examine those unspoken rules, huh?
It does. It makes you think about whose responsibility it is to prevent these situations. But, okay, there's one comment we can't just gloss over.
You mean the one about the spank bank?
Ugh, yes, that one. It's just disturbing and completely inappropriate. We need to protect children.
Yeah, that's not okay. Kids need to be protected from that kind of language and content, period.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder of how important it is to be mindful of the messages we send to children about sexuality.
And how powerful words can be.
Yes, they can shape a child's understanding of the world in ways we might not even realize.
And speaking of words, a lot of commenters are suggesting the poster have an open and honest conversation with the kid and his parents.
Yeah, communication is key here.
So what's the best way to approach these conversations? Like, what should they actually say?
Well, when talking to the kid, reassurance is key. He needs to know he didn't do anything wrong. You can gently explain the idea of privacy and why knocking is important.
Okay, simple and straightforward. And with the parents.
Honesty and transparency. Acknowledge what happened, express regret, and be open to working together to address any questions or anxieties.
So it's all about open communication, working together to move past this. But I bet the poster's still freaking out about the family judging her.
I can only imagine. But, most adults, they get it. Accidents happen. And I think if she approaches the situation honestly, focusing on the kid's well-being, they'll be understanding.
So not trying to hide it, but facing it head on.
Yeah, and being willing to learn from it.
And hey, maybe this whole awkward situation can actually be a positive thing. A chance for everyone to grow and learn.
It might be uncomfortable, but yeah, it could actually be an opportunity.
Life is full of those unexpected moments.
Right.
It's all about how we respond that matters.
You got it. I mean, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Like about thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Some of the comments, they were saying, maybe the poster should have, thought about that lock situation beforehand.
Oh, right. Like before things got heated.
Exactly. It's easy to say that now, of course.
Totally. Hindsight is 20/20, as they say.
Right. But it does make you think about being more mindful, I guess.
Especially when there are kids around.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Speaking of mindfulness, one commenter actually said the boyfriend was right to yell at the kid.
Really?
Yeah. They were like, it reinforced how serious the situation was.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I get where they're coming from, but I still think yelling just isn't the way to go.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is, and it can be really damaging, to a kid's, emotional well-being.
Right. So much better to just stay calm and use it as a teaching moment.
Exactly. Turn it into something positive.
So, okay, let's say the poster does want to talk to the kid and his parents.
Yeah.
How should she approach that? Like, what are the talking points?
Well, with the kid, I think starting by reassuring him that he didn't do anything wrong is really important.
Okay, so like, it's not his fault.
Right. Kids are curious, They might not understand why what they saw was, well,
Not for kids.
Right. You can say something like, sometimes grown-ups do things in private that aren't meant for kids to see.
Okay, so you're acknowledging it, but keeping it simple.
Yeah. You surprised us, and it's important to knock before entering a room. Something like that.
Okay, simple and to the point. Got it. What about talking to the parents?
I think just being honest and upfront is the best approach. Just acknowledge what happened and express regret that the kid saw something he maybe shouldn't have.
And apologize for the yelling.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And emphasize that you want to work with them, to make sure the kid feels safe and supported.
So it's about, like, teamwork.
Exactly. You're all on the same side here.
And an apology probably wouldn't hurt either, right?
Oh, for sure. A sincere apology can go a long way. It shows you're taking responsibility.
Okay, so it seems like the main takeaway here is just communicate. Openly and honestly.
Yep. Communication is key in any relationship, but especially in a situation like this.
It's about creating a safe space where everyone feels heard.
You got it. And honestly, life is full of awkward moments, right?
Oh, tell me about it.
It's how we handle them that matters. And I think this Reddit post, well, it's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, we all cringe at the thought of getting caught, but it also makes us think about boundaries, privacy, and all that.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, this deep dive, it's definitely been interesting.
It has. It's amazing how one little Reddit post can spark such a big conversation.
Totally. I mean, we've gone from, like, the initial embarrassment to talking about practical solutions, and now we're, like, analyzing human psychology.
Right. It's like peeling back the layers of this situation and realizing there's so much more there than we initially thought.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. But hey, that's what we do here, right?
Yeah. Dive deep. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Okay, what's that?
Well, this whole thing got me thinking about privacy in general. Like, especially in a world where technology is always pushing the boundaries between public and private.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, this situation is almost like a mini version of a much bigger issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We used to worry about unlocked doors, and now it's like data sharing and social media and cameras everywhere.
It's a whole different world of privacy concerns.
Right. And it's like we're always playing catch up.
Yeah, the rules are constantly changing.
So this situation, it's a good reminder that we need to be talking about digital boundaries too.
Oh, absolutely. With our kids, our families, everyone. Like, what's okay to share online? How do we protect ourselves?
Yeah, it's about creating a culture of respect for privacy. And that goes for both the physical and digital worlds.
Exactly.
And it feels like we're always like a step behind.
Whoa, totally. It's like technology is changing so fast.
Yeah, and the rules of privacy, they're changing right along with it.
It's a constant evolution. We're all just trying to keep up.
So this whole conversation is really highlighted how important communication is.
Yeah.
not just about, physical boundaries, but digital ones too.
Right.
Like, we need to be having those conversations with our kids, with our families,
Yeah.
about what we share online, how to protect ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. It's about fostering that respect for privacy, in all aspects of our lives.
Exactly. So circling back to our Reddit poster and her fears about, the family judging her,
Yeah.
it sounds like honesty and putting the kid first is like the best way to go.
Absolutely. Being open and showing empathy, that's key. She needs to own up to the mistake, but also focus on making sure the kid feels supported.
And maybe even use this as a chance to have a bigger conversation with the whole family.
Oh, I like that. Turn it into a learning experience for everyone.
Right. Take something awkward and turn it into a positive.
Exactly.
That's kind of what we're doing here with the deep dive, right?
In a way, yeah. We take these situations, these real-life, messy situations, and we try to learn something from them.
It's like a crash course in human behavior. All thanks to Reddit.
And it never fails to amaze me how one little post can lead to so many different discussions.
Well, it's been a wild ride, this deep dive.
It has. We've gone from like that initial cringe to talking about solutions, and now we're like reflecting on society as a whole.
It's like we peeled back the layers of this post and found a whole world underneath.
That's a great way to put it. It just goes to show there's always more to explore. Every situation, it's like a new rabbit hole waiting to be discovered.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot, from embarrassment to privacy in a digital age.
We've talked about psychology, communication, the importance of healthy relationships. It's been a lot.
It has. But hopefully, our listeners got something out of it.
I hope so. Something to think about, something to learn from.
And maybe even a few laughs along the way.
Right. Because, hey, life's too short to take everything so seriously.
That's a great point to end on. Life is messy, it's awkward, but it's also full of opportunities to learn and grow.
Well said. And even in those cringeworthy moments, there's always something to be gained. Always a new perspective, a new insight.
So to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.